In this Nitty-Gritty Basics Let's Play live stream, we're going to be playing American Mah Jongg at I Love Mahj. Today's topic is critical thinking. We're going to talk about 3 tactics to simplify Charleston decision making. And then we have a little bonus at the end. So if you're new to the game, I hope this helps you simplify your decision making. You'll have to let me know in the chat or the video description below if you're watching the repost. I want to say first, before we get started, thank you so much for watching my videos and for sharing about my channel. Channel members, thank you so much for supporting MAHJLIFE. We have a new channel member this week. Shirley, thank you for joining and for your support. I want to give a quick shout out to our moderators. They're going to be monitoring chat. If you have any questions along the way, write them in caps so that they can see it and we can answer those questions. With that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Hi, June. Hi, Evelyn. Welcome. Let's see here. Present. And there it is. I got it up. It's ready to go. Can you guys hear me all right? As soon as I get a yes, then we'll get started. Maybe I can just check myself here. Hold on. Test, test. Oh, yep. Okay, I hear. All right, here we go. So, critical thinking, 3 tactics to simplify Charleston decision making. The purpose of the Charleston is the most important thing to understand, especially if you're new to the game, or if you've been playing a while and no one's ever shared this with you. The whole purpose of the Charleston is to expedite hand development. It's actually a pre-game, because when East discards the first tile, that's when the actual game starts. So the Charleston is a pre-game activity that can help you expedite hand development. That's why you do these passes with 3 tiles each. So you're going to get up to 21 tiles to help you with hand development. Hopefully it's going to put you in a good position going into the actual game. So with this in mind, I'm hoping that it will give you a deeper appreciation for the Charleston, because there's power in the Charleston. And if anyone has a habit of stopping the second Charleston, I'm hoping that you will rethink it after today. And you'll have to let me know your thoughts on it. So let's get started. There are 4 stages in hand development: target, gather, build, defend. When you first get your dealt hand, you're going to arrange your tiles and you're going to analyze it. You're going to look for the strength of the hand and target the strength of the hand. We're going to go into depth about that. And then you're going to gather tiles to support the strength of the hand and choose a category to focus on that will use most of your tiles. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you'll start building multiples, because American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. And I'll show you why that is in a few minutes. So you're going to be going through this process of target, gather, build, defend, and it'll be cyclical. Sometimes you're going to have to retarget depending on what happens at the table. So for example, during the Charleston, if you're not seeing the right tiles, or you see a trend that might be going a different way, you might retarget, regather, and then later build something completely different that maybe in the initial part of the game you weren't even considering. So it is not set in stone. It is cyclical. Keep this in mind as we talk about the next slide. Let me just get here. Okay, so the first tactic is optimize. This is when you focus on multiples, because American Mah Jongg has pairs, pungs, kongs. There's one category that has singles and pairs, but all the other categories use mixtures of pairs, pungs, kongs. And if you target multiples, you're going to optimize hand development, because in the end, you're going to need multiples. So the idea is to start with the end in mind. Optimize. Optimize by targeting multiples. The next tactic is to maximize. If you don't have multiples in your hand, you're going to gather the predominant pattern. And the predominant pattern is going to be one of the categories on the card. So in this particular example, we have a lot of 3, 6, 9. So if this were my hand, I would play 3, 6, 9 because it would use most of my tiles. At the moment, the predominant pattern is the strength of the hand. Now, if we had a multiple in here, then I would target the multiple and find a category that uses most of my tiles, maximize, and I would play a category that will use most of my tiles supporting the multiple. So the multiple will always drive the decisions in your hand. When you have a hand where there is no multiple, during the Charleston, it is likely that a multiple will form. That is when you reassess, target the multiple, gather most of your tiles, and then play a category that will be able to use that strength of your hand, which would include the multiple and most of your tiles. The reason for this is, if you look at the card, we're not going to go super deep into these statistics, but I just wanted to show you that big multiples are pungs, kongs, and then we have 3 quints. So primarily pungs and kongs. 84% of the hands on the card use big multiples. There are also pair hands or hands with pairs, and they make up 61%. So between big multiples and pairs, that's the whole card, basically, because the single and pair category is the only one that is shallow. Pairs and singles. All the other categories on the card use bigger multiples with a smattering of pairs and singles here and there. So focus on multiples. That is the key to American Mah Jongg. This was one of the biggest epiphanies I've had since I learned to play in 1990. I've been playing a long time. And over the years, I've noticed some things. And this is one of the biggest epiphanies that I've had with American Mah Jongg. It's a game of multiples. So if you target multiples early on, you're going to be set up for success later. While you're passing during the Charleston, your first priority is going to be developing your own hand. But you also want to think about your discards, because you're going to be giving those to your opponents, and you don't want to help them develop their hand. You want to mitigate risk while you're passing, so you're not helping your opponent develop their hand. You're going to block them as best you can. And there are 27% of the hands on the card use one suit. Mixed suits are also on the card, 69%. So there are more hands that use mixed suits than one suit. So as you're gathering, gather all the suits, and then also while you're passing, try not to pass or keep it a good mix in those tiles. Passing, there's like a hierarchy, and I think we'll be talking about that when I do gameplay with commentary, and it won't be in this particular presentation because the focus on this one are these 3 tactics. So the focus is not so much on passing defensively, but I just want to highlight a couple of things. When you're passing, try to pass defensively. And again, your priority is going to be your own hand. So you want to focus on hand development for your own hand, and then you do the best you can with what you have left over. So whatever is remaining as discards, try not to pass like numbers. This is my opinion. 40%, well, the statistic is 40% of the hands on the card use like numbers. My opinion is it's almost as risky as passing a pair. If you pass like numbers, that is very close to passing someone a pair that they could potentially use. If you pass like numbers and they happen to be holding those tiles, they're going to be very happy. For example, if you pass like numbers with fives and they're playing little odds or even big odds, they're going to be happy. Or if they're playing like numbers. There are like numbers all over the card, not just in that one category. Also, think about flowers. Flowers are risky tiles to pass. There are 8 flowers in the set. And so there are, I believe it's, I think I have a statistic here, 44% of the hands on the card use flowers. That's close enough to 50% in my mind. So I try very rarely to pass flowers. If you make it a rarity, I think that's a good guideline. So try not to pass flowers, try not to pass like numbers. The third tactic is to streamline. Streamlining is when you consider consecutive run. Typically, streamlining would show, in my mind, when I have no multiples. Because when I have a multiple, that's the first thing I see. I don't automatically see streamlining as a tactic. I target the multiple. But if I can use consecutive run and streamline, I'm going to have a lot of flexibility with my hand. It's the most efficient and flexible category on the card. So there's a lot of power there. Now, that's not to say that you want to play consecutive run every time, because that could get a little boring. So you want to mix it up. But if you've got strength in consecutive run, like in this particular hand, we could play consecutive run. There is also some potential in here for 3-6-9, but most of the tiles use consecutive run and there's flexibility there. So consider streamlining, especially if you have a wide spread like in this example. The chances of you hitting 1 or 2 of these tiles and leveraging that efficient category, excuse me, is pretty good. So streamlining, that's the third tactic. If you look in consecutive run, there are 11 hands in that category. So that makes up only 16% of the hands on the card. But consecutive runs are all over the card. There are consecutive run hands in Winds and Dragons, Singles and Pairs, the Year, Addition, and Quints. So even though consecutive run is that one category there in the middle of the card, there are consecutive run options elsewhere in other categories. So that's why it's got a lot of options. There are a lot of options with consecutive run, and that, in addition to the efficiency, is what makes it such a powerful category. When you can use all 3 tactics, that's what I call a power play. Optimize, maximize, and streamline. If you can use all 3 of these tactics in one hand, you have a really strong potential. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about gaps and weaknesses, but if you can optimize by targeting multiples, maximize by using most of your tiles to support the multiple, and then even streamline by playing consecutive run, you're going to have a really strong potential for that particular hand. There's a little bit more, though, that I want to share with you. And this is a recent sort of finding, I guess you could say, on a couple of shapes of hands. And that is hands of slight resistance. A hand of slight resistance would be a hand where you have 1 pair and then Kongs. If you can get the pair in your hand, then you can use any number of jokers with the rest of that hand. That's where the slight resistance comes in, with that 1 pair. I would call this a power play that is loaded, because you also have those 3 tactics plus a hand of slight resistance. all those together make it a loaded power play. Then there's the hands of least resistance. These would be the hands where you can use any number of jokers. Those would be the hands with 2 pungs and 2 kongs. So if you think about optimizing, maximizing, and streamlining, and then maybe playing one of these hands of least resistance where you can use any number of jokers, you're going to have a fully loaded power play. These hands are relatively indestructible because there is a limited number of jokers, 8. It's rare that all 8 are going to be locked in. So these hands are relatively indestructible. And that's why I think that they're also a really powerful element in American Mahjong. And also one of the things that make it unique in the world of Mahjong. When you're doing the Charleston, how do you measure results? This is the way I like to look at it. If you have more than 4 discards, you're likely going to be an underdog for that particular hand. More than 4 discards. If that is where you find yourself after the Charleston, to no fault of your own, whether you made good choices or maybe you made a mistake or maybe the tiles just didn't come, there's some of that you just can't control, but you make the best decisions that you can with what is coming through in the passes. So if you have more than 4, you're going to likely be an underdog. What that means is that you're going to have to be mindful of what is being discarded and exposed so that you can try to make up hand development in the early part and the begin part of that middle game. And then think about taking a low risk approach because you have a long way to go. And there are likely going to be players who are further along in hand development than you. So take a low risk approach until you have a hand with no gaps and few weaknesses, and then run hard. Try to expedite hand development by calling discards, making exposures, and trying to catch up. If you have 4 discards, I'd say that you are likely a contender. As a contender, you can take a little more risk, moderate risk, and you can expedite hand development as a contender. That's when you have 4 discards. If you have less than 4, I'd say that you're likely a front runner for that particular game. And there, regardless of risk, expedite hand development and play to win. Speed to readiness is what you want to focus on if you're a front runner. Even if you're a contender, I would focus on speed to readiness. And something that I've been working on lately is a guideline of trying to be ready to win by the end of the 3rd wall. It's a high calling, but it's a good guideline to think about as far as at that point, whether you're going to switch to defense or play to win. So I just want to quickly look at a few examples. So here's a hand. This is after the Charleston. Odds 1-1. So this is the first odd hand in 1 suit is what I was thinking about playing. And you can see we have 4 multiples, 3, 5, 7, 9 pairs. There's a pung of 9s, but if you look at that first hand, we only need a pair. So that 9 crack would be a discard. I would hold it probably for a little while because something with big odds could maybe show up. I would say we have 3 clear discards here, or 4 clear discards. So with 4 discards, and I need to add another red line under the 9 crack because that is an extra. This would be 5 discards, so we would be an underdog on this one. If we were to pick up a 1 crack early, we could maybe move up to the contender's position because both our pairs would be covered. So you want to try to monitor your hand development, especially when it comes to gaps and weaknesses. So the weakness in this hand would be the 1 crack because that needs to be a pair and there's only a single there. Another example of a weakness here would be the 5 crack. We have a pair, but it's supposed to be a Kong. If you look at that hand on the card, we need 4 5s and we have only 2 and no jokers. So that would be 2 weaknesses for this particular hand, but we have no gaps. So a couple of good picks and we could move from underdog to a contender position. All right, let's see. Next, we have another example here. Winds and Dragons number 7. We have East paired up, South Pung. Then we have 7 Bams, Pung, and a 7, 8, 9 in dots and a 9 cracks. So I'm thinking Winds and Dragons number 7. That's the concealed hand. With the concealed hand, we would have 5 discards. So I would say that because we have no weaknesses here, we have the East and the West as, oops, that West is not a discard. The East is the discard. I'll correct that in the next, for the next episode. But we have an extra East because we only need single East and West. So the West would be a keeper. The East would be the discard. So we have 5 discards in here. Let's see, wait, 4, I'm sorry, East. The 8 dot would be a keeper because we need mixed suit Kongs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 discards. Because we have 4 discards and we're playing a concealed hand, I would say we're probably going to be a contender. This is the 8 dot would be a keeper and the East would be the discard. So I'll correct that for the next go round. So I hope this is making sense for you while you're looking at your hand and analyzing your position going into the pick and discard phase of the game. You want to check and see how many discards you have and then look at where your weaknesses and if you have any gaps. In this case, we have no gaps, which is good. But we do have a weakness. The weaknesses would be the North, because that needs to be a Pung, and the 8 dot, which needs to be a Pung as well. So there are 2 weaknesses here, but no gaps. The last example that I have here would be a like number hand. We have multiples with the flowers and the ones. We paired up all the ones. And we have a single green and red dragon. We don't have a white dragon, so that would be a gap. But one good pick, if we could get a white dragon, we would discard the 6 or the 7, and then another good pick, and we would be ready to win. So 2 picks away, potentially. I mean, we got to get those keepers, but this particular hand only has 2 discards. So this would be an example of a front runner hand. I have another example with an unusual situation that you could consider as far as trying to identify what position you're in going into the pick and discard phase of the game. If you're playing for this particular hand, consecutive run 2-2, this would be the 2 suit option. Pung Kong, Pung Kong. This is one of the hands of least resistance. Pung of 1s in the dots. Then we need a Kong of 2s, and then a Pung of 3 cracks and a Kong of 4s. So we have no gaps for that hand. There's an extra 2 crack pair. And then we have 3 clear discards. This pair that we are not going to probably use for the hand could instead be used to maybe get a joker during the middle part of the game. And hopefully we'll have an example of that kind of an opportunity. The term for this particular tactic is called joker bait. And this is a tactic that Tom Sloper he coined this term, joker bait. Basically, you wait until around the middle of the middle game and you discard one of those tiles, and then someone at the table makes an exposure with a joker and you use the second one to do an exchange on your next turn. It is kind of a hit or miss strategy, but it is a lot of fun and very exciting when it works. So I would say for this particular hand, because we have 3 discards plus joker bait, I would say we would be a front runner on this one. We have a hand with no gaps, 3 clear discards, and potential joker beat. Even though there's 5 discards, we can leverage that pair for a potential for joker, getting a joker in our hand. So I hope that those examples were helpful to you. The next time we do it, I'll have those errors corrected. So I hope that that wasn't too confusing. But I want to leave you with a quote that I find really inspiring. The smarter you play, the luckier you'll be. So you make good decisions during the Charleston. Use those tactics. Optimize, maximize, and streamline. Target multiples. Use most of your tiles. Play a category that where you can use the strength of your hand, and then monitor the trend, because while you're picking and discarding, things can change. Even during the Charleston, the hand can change. So always be mindful of the trends that are coming through as well. And just do your best to make smart decisions. One of the great things about American Mah Jongg is it's forgiving. So if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just breathe, and you could probably recover in the begin or the early part of the middle game as well. And we're going to play at Mahjong, or I Love Mahj, and hopefully we'll have lots of examples of all these tactics and strategies. And of course, along the way, if you have questions, write them in caps in the comment section, and hopefully the moderators will help field those questions. And if you haven't played at this I Love Mahj platform and you'd like to give it a try, they have a 3-week trial if you use MAHJLIFE, and that is an affiliate link. I do get some commission if you decide to stick with I Love Mahj and play there. It's a wonderful platform, especially for beginners, and I'll show you why in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll play some games now. Okay, here's I Love Mahj. I'm going to use this layout so that you can see the screen. If you've not played here before, you can play with robots, you can play with friends, you can play with strangers even. We're not going to do that at the moment. We're going to do at least one Charleston modeling exercise, which is what this exercise room is. This is a fantastic feature on their site. You can do other activities as well, like make every hand on the card and practice with the shapes and the suits that you'll be using for any given hand. It's a wonderful feature there, but we're going to focus on Charleston practice. So let's click Start Exercise, and we're going to play just the Charleston. We're going to focus just on the Charleston for this first one. So we have a joker, a red dragon, 2, 5, 8 in bams, 3, 4, 8 in cracks, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9 in dots, and a pair of nines. So if these were your tiles, what would call to you? What would be your focus if these were your tiles? If you feel up to it, put it in chat. And I'm going to look at these tiles and see what I would do. I think I already know what I would do if this were my hand. The screen, oh, doggone, hold on. It opens a new tab. That's why it does that. Here it is. Okay, so let me just start over there. We have a joker, red dragon, 2, 5, 8 in bams, 3, 4, 8 in cracks, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9 in dots, pair 9. I'm hoping you can see the tiles now. Sorry about that. So if these were your tiles, what would you focus on? Tell me in chat if you're up to it. No pressure if you don't want to. I'll give it a few seconds and then I'll share what I would do. All right, if these were my tiles, I would play consecutive run. I would keep my eyes open for odds though, big odds. So we have the 9 dot, and that's immediately where my eye went, the 9 dot. That is the driving force for this particular hand, the 9 dot. So with the 9 dot, I would hold the 8s and I would hold 6 and 7. If I'm playing consecutive run, I'll keep 4 or 5 numbers around the multiple. And we're right on the edge of the sequence with a 9. So that means we would hold 6 through 9. We may be able to use the 5 if we get 7s, and we could potentially switch to big odds, 5, 7, 9. So I would hold the tiles to the left of the joker, and the tiles to the right of the joker would be my discards. So out of these tiles, we have 6 discards, clear discards. We're not going to be able to hold all these tiles on the left, but the idea is to hold everything that you can use for whatever category you're thinking of playing in. So if we're playing in consecutive run, we want to hold tiles 5 through 9. If we're playing in big odds, we want to hold 5, 7, 9, and that happens to fit for both. I would not play 2, 4, 6, 8 because you'd have to throw away a pair of 9s. There are tiles 2, 4, 6, 8 in here. That is true, and that would use most of your tiles with 2, 4, 6, 8. Let me just show as an example. We have 6 discards if we focus on the 9. If we played 2, 4, 6, 8, let's just pull all the 2, 4, 6, 8 over there. We have the same number of discards, 6 discards, including a pair. But American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. So in my opinion, it's best to target the multiple. That would be optimizing hand development, because you're playing the game with the end in mind. Of course, you want to win. That would be the ultimate end, but you want to focus on hand development. And by targeting multiples, you're going to optimize that potential. So while we could play a 2, 4, 6, 8 hand and probably do well, we could also play something using the 9 dot, which is the multiple. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the first one with the 9s, because that would be targeting the multiple. That would optimize hand development. So we're going to hold the 8, this 8, and then the 6 and the 7, because we might be able to do something consecutive there or something with big odds. So we'll do a consecutive hand or 5, 7, 9, depending on what comes in. And then we'll pass on the evens for this one. And then we'll do it again and we'll compare results. This will be a really great example of that. This particular feature, you can do this exercise again, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. So with these tiles left over, I would say maybe let's see, we might even be able to use that red dragon. There is an odd hand with dragons, 5th one down on the right. So I would pass one of each suit and just start there. So let's see how this goes. We've got a 9 dot. Now we have a pung of 9s. And here's another 9, 9 crack. We have an 8 bam. We have 2 tiles to pass, a 2 and a 4. Otherwise, we have all 5 through 9 in here. Pung of 9s. So because we have a pair of 8s and a pair of 9s, those would be consecutive pairs. I would focus there. So probably what I would do is let the red dragon go if these were my tiles. So let's pass 2, red, 4. That's the best we can do with what we have left over. Otherwise, we have all keepers at the moment. Probably this 5 bam will go. So let's pass and see what we get. We got another 9 dot. Now we have a Kong of 9s in here. 8 bam pair, 8 crack, 9 crack. We have 2 wins. So with these, I typically don't pass 2 wins together. That's pretty risky if you consider that there's news on the card. The whole category of wins could use 2 wins. That would be a nice pass if somebody were playing wins. So I wouldn't pass 2 wins. I probably would let the 5 bam go, and then I would pick another tile to go with that. With a Kong of 9 dots and a pair of 8 bams, I probably would let the 6 dot go and focus on the 8, 9. And we don't even look at the card yet. We're not going to look at any hands yet until we run out of discards. We still have discards, so we don't have to pick a hand. Not yet. I know there's this urge inside, this urgency to pick a hand, but you really don't need to pick a hand till you run out of discards. And your focus should be, number one, on hand development of your own hand, and then passing defensively. If you can identify 3 tiles to pass, you can stop the analysis and just wait for your tiles to come in and then analyze. So there's really no need to look at the card and try to figure out what hand you're playing, because we may get tiles in here that would just turn that on a dime. It may change completely. So instead of doing all that analysis for naught, just wait and see what you get. So let's see what comes in. We have a 6 bam east and west. Okay, now here is where I would maybe think about, let's see, we gave up, I think, 1 wind. We gave up a south. I would think about maybe playing news concealed. And this is where that trending comes in. We got a wind in here, and if we get more wins in the second Charleston, we may be able to play that news concealed hand and use that 9 dot and then the 8 bam together. So I probably would pass on the 6 bam. I would continue for sure. Pass the 6 bam, the 7 dot, and then probably the 8 crack. And then I would focus on trying to maybe get north and more souths for that news concealed hand. We have a 7. That is in our range, so I would keep it. We have 7, 8, 9, which really isn't very helpful, though, considering we have a Kong of 9s. Really what would be helpful would be maybe a flower or more wins. In this case, I would let the 7 go. We got the north. So now we have no gaps for that news concealed hand. We have 2 tiles we can pass. It's a little bit risky. Maybe we could even let the 9 crack go and pass fully. Let's see what we get. Another south. We got our south back. So here's the result. Oh, you know what? We get a pass again. Optional cross. So I would pass 2. We have an extra 9 dot. So here I would pass 2 tiles. We didn't get keepers, but we have a hand with no gaps and 3 discards. We're playing a concealed hand. We have no weaknesses because we can use the joker with the north, and all we have to do is draw 2. We're east, so we'd have to have 2 good picks and we'll be ready to win. I would say we would be a front runner, even though we're playing a concealed hand, because we only have 3 discards. So that was a really good result. And it was a power play. We targeted the multiple, which was the 9 dot. So we optimized. We used most of our tiles, which were 5 through 9. That was maximized. And then we also streamlined because we have consecutive tiles. So we have a power play here. And now let's do this. We're going to replay with the same tiles. This is one of the great features at I Love Mahj. In this Charleston practice, you can replay with the same tiles. And this time we're going to play evens, and we're going to break up the 9 dot, and let's see if there's a different result with evens. So we're going to hold all 2, 4, 6, 8, and then we'll compare results. So there's our 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 6 discards, which is where we were before with consecutive run, but we leveraged the multiple. That's really the big difference. So we're still maximizing, but we're not optimizing. Let's just see though if we can build a multiple. We may get a multiple in here, which would put us right back at strength, which would be optimizing. So let's see what happens. I would probably break up the 9, and then I would pass maybe the 3 crack and a red dragon. That's 3, 6, 9 though. I don't think I would do that. Maybe pass. Let's see here. I think no matter how you slice this, it's going to be risky. Let's throw the 3 crack in there. Okay, 3 crack. Here we go. We're going to pass. We've got an 8, bam. And we did get a multiple. So now we're maximizing still. We have 5 discards at the moment, and we have a multiple in here, the 8 bam. So we're optimized because we're going to target the 8 bam. Anytime you develop a new multiple, you target the multiple, just reassess. We could maybe still do 6, 7, 8, 9, but we're trying to purposely keep evens to see if we have a different result at the end by focusing on evens. So we're going to break up the 9, we'll pass the south, and then this 5 bam. We got a 4 crack. That's another multiple, 4 crack pair. And we do have 3 tiles we can pass. It's a little bit risky with a 7 and a 9, but as the Charleston progresses, your passes are going to probably become more and more risky. You just want to do the best you can with what you have remaining. So that is really the best we can do with our discards. And I would want to keep all my 2, 4, 6, 8 to optimize gathering more tiles that would hopefully eventually point to a hand. Right now, I would not pick a hand. The tiles are not quite gelling with what we have at the moment. So I would not even look at the card. I would just continue gathering. We have discards, so you really don't have to pick a hand till you run out of discards. So let's pass. We got 7s, like numbers with 7s. So now we're going to keep going, even though we have a like numbers. That's going to be risky if we pass that. And 2 wins would be risky too. This is when I would look at the hand level to free up one of my tiles to mitigate the risk. So let me just click continue and I'll show you what I mean. We could pass northeast and a 7. That would be pretty risky. This, I would say, passing 2 wins would come right under passing like numbers. So passing a pair would be very risky. Passing like numbers would be a little less risky, but still risky. Same with passing 2 wins. So I would not do that. I would not pass 2 wins, especially because we don't even know what hand we're playing, where we don't have a strong hand development. So the risk is not worth it. We need to do a low risk approach here because we don't know what hand we're playing yet. We could maybe pass the 7, but again, that would be high risk. So I would not do that. Instead, I would look at my tiles and let something go. And this is where you want to look for useless tiles. And that is why you have to look at the hands now. We want to see, well, what hand could we potentially play? In my opinion, the closest thing we have to a hand is probably the second hand down under evens. But we have a pair gap. We have no 8 dot. So let me just show you the tiles here. We have 2, 4, 6, which would be the first block or the first pair, single pair. The green colored tiles are, or numbers on the card, that would be the dots. Then we need 2 Kongs of like numbers in either 2, 4, 6, or 8. And we have 8s that we could use. So if we get even 1 8 dot, that would fill a gap, and I'd feel much better about that choice. I don't see, there actually is one other choice, but there's a pair gap also there. And that would be the 4th hand down. We would maybe do 2 crack, 4 crack, and then 4 dot, 6 dot with a pair of 8 bams. That would make the 8 crack a discard. Or we could do 2 4 in dots, 4 6 in cracks, and then we would need the 8 bam pair. So there's some potential for the 4th hand down, but there are pair gaps in there. That is risky. But what we did find here is that we never use the 2. So you use a process of elimination in trying to figure out what hands you might be able to use just to find one more discard. And we achieved that here. So the 2 bam is the useless tile at the moment. So let's pass and see what happens. No keepers. We have east, south, 7, 9, and a 5. So I would probably pass a wind and then maybe the 9 and the 5. At least they're far apart in 2 different suits. So let's pass. We didn't get any keepers. Look at the wins that we have. And we have like numbers with 7s. So I would probably pass 2 because I wouldn't pass 2 wins, like something like that. I wouldn't do that because we have gaps for whatever hand we're going to play. That's a big weakness. So I don't think, I think it would be wise to take a low risk approach because of the options that we have right now. We're playing a gap hand, basically. No matter how we slice it, we're playing a gap hand, even with the joker. So I would not pass like numbers. So I wouldn't do that either. That's why I think what I would do is keep my options by holding all the evens and then just pass 2. Since we're passing the second right, we can pass blind. And that I would take that option right now instead of doing a risky pass. Take a low risk approach if you don't know what hand you're playing or if you have weaknesses and gaps. Let's see if we get any evens. We did not get evens. All right, so now for the same reason in this cross pass, I would hold all my evens so I would have options, and then I would only pass, well, we can actually pass 3. It is a little bit risky with the 5 7 in cracks, but I think that's better than passing like numbers and 2 wins. So I would pass 3 and do 7 5 with the south, which had been going around the whole Charleston. Let's see if we get an even tile. We did not. So in this case, we have 5 discards. 5 discards, and we have 2 potential hands with gaps. So when you compare plan A, which was consecutive run leveraging the multiple, the 9 dot, with evens where we were able to maximize, but there was no multiple until that pass came in. We paired up the 8, but we didn't get, let's see, we did get the 4 crack as well. So we did build 2 multiples, but they didn't quite gel. So the result here, in comparison, the consecutive run option targeting the multiple was the better choice. You could still make this work, but you just have to do more hand development. You would need to take a low risk approach. So I would say we would be an underdog on this one. So the first one, we were a front runner. This one, we're an underdog. And that's what you want to do when you practice with Charleston modeling. You want to look for the strength of the hand and go through the Charleston, making the best decisions you can to gather tiles to support the strength of your hand. And then at the end, look at how many discards you have to see or to kind of monitor your performance. And as I said earlier, don't be hard on yourself with with that result, because sometimes what happens is not in your control, but the decisions that you make, if you make the right choices at the right time, you should be a contender more times than not. That's the goal. And when you're a front runner, well, then, you know, you're doing well. So let's do this again. Shall we? Shall we play another one? We'll do a brand new tiles. We'll do it one more time, and then we'll play with robots. So with this one, we have jokers, and then we have a flower, an east, a white dragon. We have 6, 7, 9 in bams, pair 9, 1, 5, 7 in cracks, and a 2 and a 6. So if these were your tiles, what would you focus on? What does anything stand out to you? And what category would you focus on? If you like, put it in the chat. And otherwise, just think about it to yourself, or make notes and write it out while you're looking at these tiles, and just follow along. So no pressure. If you don't want to say what you would do, I know immediately what I would do. This is one of the ways I think that using these tactics can simplify the decision making, because your eye should go to one thing right now. Evelyn says, Beverly says odds. Evelyn says 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I think Evelyn is saying discard the wind and the dragon. Okay, all good. Well done, ladies, both. So the first thing that I see is the multiple. So that's where I would start. This multiple is going to drive the hand. That is the decision maker. That's the driver right now, the 9 bam. So we're going to look at the rest of the tiles and keep tiles that we can use to support the 9. And hopefully we can find a category that we use most of our tiles. In this case, we have 5, 7, 9. Here's a 7 bam, 5, 7. I'm thinking probably big odds is what I would focus on at the moment. Big odds. 5, 7, 9 of some kind. Now we do have 6s, but we have no 8. So we can't go from 6 to 9. We want to get to 9, the 9 bam. We got to try to use that. You want to leverage multiples. So the 6s may not be good keepers. However, if we get 3s, we might be able to switch to 3, 6, 9. And that could also maximize and optimize. So we're in between consecutive run, but we have no 8. 3, 6, 9, we have no 3. Big odds, 5, 7, 9, no gaps. So plan A will be big odds. And we happen to have three tiles we can pass. So I would probably pass east 1, 2. It's a little bit risky, but there's always going to be some level of risk in your passing. So think about that. You just want to mitigate the risk. And this is the best we can do while still focusing on our own hand development. That is priority 1. Okay, yeah, 5, 7, 7, 9. That's what I would probably focus on. So we're going to think about odds with a potential for consecutive run if we get an 8, or 3, 6, 9 if we get 3s. So let's see what happens with this one. We have 3 potential ways to go here. We didn't get any keepers. We did get a 1 though. There is an odd hand that uses 1s, 9s with 3, 5, 7 in the middle. That would be the second hand from the bottom under odds. Second hand from the bottom, Kongs of 1s, Kongs of 9s with 3, 5, 7 paired up in the middle. That is a tough hand though, because you've got to have 3 pair. Right now, we have a gap and weaknesses because we only have singles with the 5 and the 7. We're left with 2, 4 dragon. This would be risky. I probably would not do that because we don't know what hand we're building. We're in between categories. So instead of passing the white dragon, I would mitigate that risk. That's high risk right there. Passing a 2 with a white dragon, that could feed into a year hand, maybe even the big year hand, the biggest hand on the card. So I probably would not pass the white dragon with a 2. So then I would look at the rest of my tiles and I would think, okay, what can I discard that is going to mitigate that risk and still help me with my hand? I would say the 1 bam, because we have a gap. We have no 3. That 1 bam is useless without the 3. So when you're looking at your options and you're trying to find a tile to pass, look where the gaps are. And that should help you identify a useless tile. Because the hand we might be able to play there was the second hand from the bottom under odds. And we have a gap there, no 3. So the 1 bam is useless. Okay, so we're going to pass 1, 2, 4. We've got a 9 and we have a 5. We did pick up a 3. So this is when I would reassess. We have potential for 3, 6, 9 now. 3, 6, 9 of some kind. We have, let's just pull them to the side and see if we can maximize with 3, 6, 9, or if maybe it would be better to do 5, 7, 9. Okay, now we're going to, of course, keep the jokers. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles, 4, 3, 6, 9. If we played big odds, we have the same number of tiles, so we're right in the middle. We're right in the middle. I think if this were my hand, let's see, we actually have a hand in here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my neighbor has landscapers. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have a hand in here, 5, 7, 9, 9 with flowers. This is the 6th hand down under odds. 5, 7, 9, 9. There's a hand right there. A hand with no gaps. Now we do have weaknesses though, because we have single 5, 7, and those need to be multiples. The other thing we could maybe consider is this white dragon, because maybe we could play like numbers if we get a 9 crack. That would be a gap hand if we played like numbers with dragons. And that would leave us with 5 discards that we could work with for the rest of the Charleston. The other option you could maybe think about is 3, 6, 9 and 1 suit. So use a process of elimination to come up with 3 tiles that would be good to pass. This, though, 5, 6, 7, like this, that is a very risky pass. And we're in between hands. So if this were my hand, I probably wouldn't do that. I would want to mitigate that risk. So I would pick either 3, 6, 9 or 5, 7, 9 and improve upon that. So probably what I would do if this were me, I would probably keep the 7 and pass the 3. I think it's going to be risky no matter how you slice this. We have 6, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, like numbers with 9s. 5, 6 is too far down range without an 8 to use with the 9. So I think I would risk that. It's risky, but not as risky. Excuse me, not as risky as passing the 7 bam. So let's pass. All right, we finally got an 8 and we got a 9 and a 7. We have no discards technically. We're still in between 5, 7, 9 or 5 through 9. So this is when I would look at the card and try to figure out which category to play, because we need to think about continuing the Charleston. And because we're in between categories, either consecutive run or odds, I would not stop the Charleston here. We have way too many options. If this is you, would anybody be tempted to stop the Charleston? Just answer that on your own independently. You don't feel like you need to say yes or no in chat, but if you want to, you can. But if you would be tempted to stop the Charleston, I think that would harm you more than help you, because right now we're in between categories. Instead, I would let the weakest category go and continue, because if we stopped the Charleston, we would be denying ourselves 12 more tiles potentially that could help build our hand going into the pick and discard phase of the game. So I would let one of the categories go. We could do 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive run. That's even a hand of least resistance, and we have 2 jokers. Because 5, 7, 9, 9 has weaknesses with the 5, 7, I would go with consecutive run. So I would want to pick my keepers to help identify tiles that I can pass. If we're going to do 6, 7, 8, 9, pung kong, 1 suit, second hand down on the left, I probably would still not pass that white dragon. So let's see. We're going to keep going. We have the 9 crack, the 7 dot. We could still play 5, 7, 9, 9 if we let the white dragon go. This is a little bit risky here. Oh, and we still have in here, by the way, 5, 7 crack, 7, 9 bam. So there's still some potential for that second hand down on the right under odds. So this is probably what I would pass, even though that's a little bit risky. Okay, we picked up another keeper, a multiple. We developed another multiple. So I would reassess. I would sort by suit and reassess. I would pull my multiples over so that I can kind of separate them in my mind and figure out how to leverage both. And because they're 5, 9, I would play odds, and I'd go right back to big odds. Thankfully, we kept the odd tiles. I would keep all the odd tiles, and we have 4 tiles now that we can pass. We don't need the 6 or the 8 if we're going to focus on 5, 7, 9. So we could pass east 6, 8. 6, 8 is a bit risky. We could maybe keep the 8 and pass the green. Actually, you know what? We have a hand in here too. 6, 7, 8, 9 dragon. 6, 7, 8, 9 dragon, but that would have 2 weaknesses. That's the concealed hand under odds. We would need a pair of flowers and a pair of green dragons. With that 5, 7, 9, 9 hand, we need a 7 crack. We have an extra 7 bam. We do have 5, 7, 7, 9, second hand down on the right. That is a hand of least resistance too. I think I would let the dragon and an 8 go here. So we still have options in the odd category. We got a keeper, the 9 dot, and we have 3 tiles we can pass. That's a little bit risky, 1, 3, 6, but we have a hand in here with no gaps. 5, 7, 9, 9 flower. We're actually set. We can pung the 9 bam, pung the 9 dot, Kong the flowers, and be ready on the 7. Or maybe we could even draw the 7. With a 1, 3, 6, we might be able to make it a little bit better by letting the 7 go. That way we're not passing 3, 6 in 1 suit because of the 3, 6, 9 category. So try to think about mitigating the risk in your passing. All right, let's see if we can get a 7 crack. No, but we did get a 9 crack. We might as well keep it. We do have 3 tiles we can pass, 1, 4, 6. I think I would pass. We could maybe even switch to like numbers with 9s with these tiles. I would risk passing 3 here because we know what hand we're playing and we have no gaps. We have one weakness, the 7 crack. If you have less than 3 weaknesses and you know what hand you're playing and you have no gaps, then you can go with high risk choices because you've got a well-developed hand. We don't have any keeper. Well, we do have odds, but they're technically not helpful. But if you look at this hand, we really have one clear discard and then all odds, big odds. But if you look at the hand individually, one particular hand, we have 4 discards. 4 discards, and we can call for every block. We have one weakness. I would say as East, we have an extra tile. I would say we're a front runner on this hand because once we discard that extra tile, we'll have only 3 discards. And we can call the 9, bam, the 9 dot. We could even Kong the flowers, and then we would be ready to win on the 7. It'd be better to draw the 7 early, but you have no control over that. But you want to, when you're a front runner, you want speed to readiness. So it's worth the risk, even losing the jokers in an exposure. I would focus on speed to readiness with this result. We're a front runner. Okay, so tell me what you think about that. Does that help? It is a lot to think about, but this is one reason why we love the game so much, because it's complex. It really makes you think. It really builds those critical thinking skills. There are a lot of variables to consider, but the more you play, the more confident you'll be with that decision making, and the more you practice, the quicker you'll develop those skills. Let's see, should we do this again and see what this looks like for either 3, 6, 9 or consecutive run? Those were the other 2 options. Or would you guys prefer to play with robots? So tell me what you'd like to do. Do you want to do this again? Oh, Arlene says, I hear your voice in my head when you're playing. That's awesome, Arlene. I hope I'm being kind. So do you guys want to do another Charleston with either 3, 6, 9 or consecutive run? And then the other option would be to just go play with robots. Look at suggested hands. Sure, we could do that. The top hand with 10 tiles is the one that I had recommended. The next 3 have 8 tiles to those. However, I would not recommend those because you would have to, like this second one down, 5, 7, 7, 9, second hand down on the right, we'd have to throw away a pair of 9s. I would not advise that. I would leverage the multiple. Same with this other one, we'd have to throw away a pair of 5s. This would be the like number hand. Even though there's potential there, we'd have to throw away the pair of 5s. Here, 5, 7, 7, 9 with dragons, we have a gap, no dragons. We would have to use the jokers, but using jokers to fill a gap is I would make that a rarity. There's risk there. I would not do that. We'd have to throw away a pair of 9s. I'd rather leverage the 9. The other one that it's recommending is 8, 9, 8, 9, but there's a gap, no 8 dot. So I would not recommend playing any of these other hands. I would play this top one. We have a hand with no gaps and it's set. We can Kong the flowers, pung both 9s, and be ready to win on the 7. We need one good pick, that 7 crack. It is a little bit risky because it's a pair tile. So probably what I would do is keep the 7 dot for as long as possible and switch maybe to the second hand down. It's 5, 7, 7, 9. But until that point, we would have 3 discards. The 9 crack, the 8 bam, and the 5 bam. So that's how I would play this particular hand. I would leverage the multiples. and focus on speed to readiness. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see if consecutive run were better, because one of my recommendations is if you're in between categories, like we were in between 369 odds and consecutive run. If the use of tiles is equitable and consecutive run is one of the categories, I recommend going with consecutive run because of its flexibility and efficiency with the range of tiles that you have to work with. We're on the edge though with a 9, and our multiple is with a 9. So that flexibility is diminished. So let's try this with consecutive run and just compare results. So with this particular hand, we have 4 discards, but we're set. We know what hand we're playing. We have no gaps and 1 weakness. So I would say we're a front runner. So we got to remember that 4 discards, we're a front runner. We are East though. We have an extra discard. So technically we have, after we start the game with 1 discard, we'll be at three discards, which is why I would say we're a front runner, because our hand is set more so than because we have 3 discards. It just kind of worked out that way. So the key indicator here though is 3 discards after East discards. So let's replay and see what the results will be with consecutive run. So we're going to sort by suit, and we start with the 9 because that's the multiple. That's what we're targeting. We're targeting the multiple, which means we're optimized. That is the first tactic, optimize. Then we're going to look at the rest of our tiles. We're going to hold 7. We have no 8 at the moment, so really consecutive run is unlikely at the moment until we get an 8, but we know we're going to get an 8 in the Charleston. So let's just see what happens. We're going to hold 5, 7, 9, and 6s in case we get an 8. We'll throw the East, the 1, and the 2. So we have a 5, 6, still no 8, and we have tiles we can pass. Now here, White Dragon, I think I would go ahead and risk it, because in our hand we have 5 through 9. We're looking for an 8 to tie it together. Right now, 5 through 9, the only way we can use 5 through 9 in mixed suits would be the 4th hand down under consecutive run. And we have no, let's see, we have no 7 dot, we have no 6 crack, we have no 8. So there's a lot of gaps there. Probably these 5s are going to need to go. So if we wanted to mitigate that risk, we could probably hold the white and pass the 5 crack. If we're focused on consecutive run, that 5 is kind of an outlier. It's a bit useless without a 6. It is useless without a 6, actually. Okay, and then we get the 5. Look at 5 crack. Here's 5, 6, 7. We still have no 8. We have 2 tiles to pass. I don't think I would pass a 3 with a white, because that would fit a year category pretty well. We have a pair of 9s. I think if this were my hand, let's see, 5, 6, 7. If we could get an 8 dot, we could play that 4th hand down, but that's a gap, and it's a Kong gap. That's a big gap. If this were my hand, I would not play consecutive run. I would play big odds. So I would let go of, I would probably, let's see, 5, 7 crack, 7, 9 bam. I would probably discard the 5 dot. Let's see here. 5, 7 crack, 7, 9 bam. I might risk that White Dragon, because we still need to give ourselves the best opportunity. The 6s, maybe we could let a 6 go, but I'm thinking if we let the 6 dot go, that's risky. 5, 6, I wouldn't do that. I'd almost rather do the White Dragon. But if we were to get an 8 dot, we could use 5 crack, 6 crack, 7. I think I would do this right here. I think that's the best we can do right now. Okay, so now we have 4s. We did pick up a 9 crack. I really think this hand wants to be odds. So we have, I would probably let the 6s go, but look what we're left with here. All like numbers. Look at these like numbers. We have 5, 7, 7, 9, no gaps. So I would probably mitigate the risk by letting the 9 go. So I would keep going and pass one of each suit. Okay, we got the 5 crack back. So even if you sacrifice a tile, there is a chance for it to come back to you. It's hit or miss, but try not to dwell on it. Move forward. Try to avoid that feeling of regret. Just move forward, because some of those tiles can come back. And if they don't, you can recover when you get to the next phase of the game. So here we can let go of, let's say, the east, the 6 bam, and the 4 crack. That way we're left with mixed suits for the next pass, just in case we get everything we want. You know what though? I just saw a hand in here. 4, 5, 6, 7, no gaps. 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's a hand of least resistance. And it's consecutive, which is more flexible. But we do have a hand in here with no gaps with odds. 5 crack, 7 crack, 7 bam, 9. Let's let the 6 bam or the 4 dot go. We got a 7 dot, and we have 2 clear discards. I probably would let something go here. If we have a 5, 7 in cracks with a 7, 9 bam, I'd probably let the 7 dot go and pass fully to optimize getting a keeper. We need a keeper to help us make a decision. We didn't get any keepers. We've got like numbers with 5s. So I would just put them in order just to see if there's a pattern there. We have a lot of odds. We have a clear discard here, the 1 bam. Probably the 5 bam could go. If we're going to do 5, 7 crack, 7, 9 bam, second hand down on the right, I would not let this 5 dot go, because I wouldn't pass like numbers. Not when we were in between categories and in between hands. We can either play 4, 5, 6, 7 pung kong, second hand down on the left, or we could play 5, 7, 9, second hand down on the right. Both of those are hands of least resistance. I would pass 2, and I would not pass the flower, by the way. Okay, so I would do one of each suit here. 1 bam with a 5 dot. Okay, so we did not get any keepers in here, but we do have 5 through 9 and big odds, and no discards otherwise, other than the flower, really. We're in between categories. We have 1 discard. That other opportunity, let's see, we did 5, 7, 7, 9, big odds, was a far better choice than consecutive run in this case. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. Let's play with robots now. I'm going to close this, and then we're going to go up here and play with bots. And we'll play with the intermediate bots. And this time it didn't switch. The broadcasting software stuck with my game. I didn't have to change the screen. I don't know why it does that. All right, here we go. Let's see. So this is going to be a full game now. We're playing with robots. We have West, green, 4, 5, 9 in bams, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 in cracks with a pair of 3s, 5, 6 in dots. If these were your tiles, what would you focus on? I know what I would do. Optimize, maximize, streamline. Think about those tactics. Could you go for a power play with these tiles? Optimize, maximize, streamline. I'm going to give you a minute to answer there. We're not picking a hand. We're category level. We're just thinking category level here. Does anybody want it? Consecutive run, says Beverly. I agree. Consecutive run looks really good. 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's see. We can make this an easy sort by just pulling off the clear discards. Look at all the 3, 4, 5, 6 we have. 4 discards. There is some potential in here for 3, 6, 9. I was waiting to see if anybody would want to play 3, 6, 9. There is some potential there, but it's consecutive run has far more options. So we would be able to do a power play if we played consecutive run 3, 4, 5, 6. We'd use the multiple, which would be optimizing. That would be the optimized tactic. We're maximizing because we're using most of our tiles, and we're streamlining because we're in consecutive run. So that would be the power play. And we don't even know what hand we're playing. We're just going to gather. So we have 3 tiles we can pass. And I would pass this. A wind, a dragon, and a number tile. That's a fine pass. It looks a little bit risky, but it's not. That's actually one of the best passes you can do. So let's see what happens. We have a 3, 4. 3, 4. So the 9 would go. Let's use this joker to separate for us. The red dragon, I would let go of probably. The red dragon we might be able to use because we have a lot of cracks, but we have no flowers. The dragon hands in consecutive run require flowers. Since we have no flowers, that would be a gap. So the red dragon goes. Now we need one more tile. 3, 4, 5, 6 of some kind we have in here. I would probably let the 4 bam go. We have several hands we could play with these 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. I would just find one tile and stop the analysis. You really don't have to pick a hand until you run out of discards. So we have a 7, but the 3 all the way up to a 7 doesn't work in one suit. The only way it would work is if we played a pair hand and we have a joker. So I would not even consider that. The 2, we do have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but our strength is with 5, 6 and the 3. So the 2 I think is too low. We have way more tiles with 5 and 6. So I would let the 2 bam go. So I would pass 2, 7, 8. And that is a little bit risky, but there's going to be some level of risk in every pass. We're looking for another multiple to come in here. We did get an 8 crack, but our multiple is with the 3. So even though that 8 crack looks pretty with these cracks, that is a useless tile for us. We definitely want to keep going. So let's pass West 8 green. Incidentally, that West and green that was our first pass. So these robots are not using those tiles. We have another multiple. Anytime you develop a new multiple, reassess. So whatever we play, we're going to use the 3 crack and the 5 dot. So 3, 5 of some kind. If we get 1s, we could maybe even switch to little odds, 1, 3, 5. We have to find a tile to pass. Here we have 3, 4 crack, 5, 6 dot. Second hand down on the right under consecutive run. And that is a hand of least resistance. That would be a fully loaded power play. Hand of least resistance, optimize, maximize, streamline. So I would keep the 5, 6. The 6 dot, I would keep that. We could maybe do 3, 4, 3, 4, 6th hand down. we could maybe do 3, 4, 5, 6 in one suit. Therefore, the only tile we didn't use is the 5 bam. Now that right there is very risky. However, we are playing a fully loaded power play. I think the risk is warranted. I would do this. If this makes anybody cringe, write #cringe in chat right now. Okay, we did get a keeper here, 5 crack. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 suit, second hand down. Look at all the 3, 4, 5, 6 we have here. I would let the 3, 4 in bams go, and then I would have to let something here go. We could do 3, 4 crack, 5, 6 in dots, or we could do 3, 4, 5, 6 in one suit. Because we have a 3, 4 in bams, we could potentially make that better by mixing up the suit and just pass 2. And I think that's what I would do. I would give up the 3, 4 bams and dots, keep the 5, 6 for an option with 3, 4 and cracks. So let's see what we get. Oh my gosh, look at these consecutive tiles. Wow. We have 2 through 6 now. That's a really wide range. We don't need all that. We have 3 tiles we can pass, 1 of each suit. It's a little bit risky. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. You know what though? We have 2, 3, 4, 5. Another option with consecutive runs, second hand down in one suit. 2, 3, 4. We're in between, but we have a fully loaded power play. I would risk it. We can go high risk because of our hand development. Okay, so we didn't get any more keepers, but we have 2 potential hands, fully loaded power play, 3 discards. And we're the dealer, so we have an extra tile. So technically, we have 2 clear discards, but some options. I would say we're a front runner for this one. Let's see what happens. I always start by discarding wins if I'm not playing wins. So we need to keep an eye on our tiles, and we may have to make a decision early. But we can take a high risk approach because of the hand development. We don't need the 1, or really the 9 can go. 9. Okay, now there, we need to probably, if we play 2, 3 crack, 4 crack, 5, we could pung that 4. Or we could wait and play 3, 4, 5, 6, but we would need a joker for the 4 because that would need to be a Kong. We could also do 3, 4 crack, 5, 6 dot. And if we can't Kong that because we only have 1 joker. So what that tells me is we should act on it and pung for 2, 3, 4, 5, pung Kong, pung Kong. I would call it for a pung. And what that means is we don't need the 6 crack. So we're playing, let's see, 2, 3 crack, pung Kong, pung 4 crack, Kong 5. The 5 dot will be joker bait. We have 4 discards. So let's discard this 1 bam. So that 6 crack is a discard here. We risked the joker and they took it, and that's okay. We don't need a sound. Okay, now that needs to be a Kong for us. So we're going to need a joker. That's okay though, because this is a relatively indestructible hand. If we get 1 joker, we'll be fine. Oh, there's a 6 dot. That's okay. We have 2 joker baits now. Let's let the 6 crack go here. Let's see. Yeah. We're going to let that go. Oh, joker exchange. Look at that. We'll exchange that joker. So now we can use that for our 3 crack. Let's let the 1 dot go. Maybe we'll get a joker out of the 5, 6 pairs here. We don't need that there. Oh, 7 crack just went down. Nope, we're good. 6 crack we already threw. No. 3 dot we don't need. We're looking for 2, 3, 5 crack. One man is out. Yeah, we're playing the second hand down in one suit. Pung kong, 2, 3, 4, 5. I typically will not claim a discard unless I know what hand I'm playing. And we decided on 2, 3, 4, 5 because we can call the 4 for a pung. And so we made a decision very early in the early game. We still need to draw well. It isn't, if you're a front runner, it's not a guarantee that you're going to win, but the likelihood is good. No, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 in one suit. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pung kong, second hand down on the left. Okay, now with a pung of 4 cracks, we just got a 1. We could potentially switch to the first hand now with that 1 crack. 1, 2, 3, 4 crack 5. So let's let the 6 dot go. Nobody wanted it. So we're in between the first consecutive hand in one suit, 1 through 5, or the second hand down. We got a joker. Okay, let's ignore. That's out. We don't need 3 dot. 2, 3, 4, 5 is the strongest because we have a 1 crack here that would need to be paired if it's the very first hand. And there's already a 1 crack out. So that would be a weakness. We have no weakness with 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, we do have 1. We have 1 weakness either way because we would need to Kong the 3 and we have to Kong the 5 if we play that second hand down. So we have 1 weakness with either hand. And we want to maybe see if we can get a joker out of this 5 dot. Let's discard that next. Oh, there's a couple jokers up for grabs. There goes a 1 crack. Wow, somebody just got 2 jokers. Okay, let's throw the 5 dot. Nobody wanted the 5 dot. Okay, West has been discarded. We're going into the end game, which is 40 tiles remaining. So let's keep the West and throw that 5 dot. We need a good pick. Oh, flower. No, we don't want to hold on to that. Okay, thankfully that wasn't Mahjong because we're in the end game now. Okay, now 9 dot, I see 1 out. 5 dot, there are 2 out. West, there are 3 out. So 9 dot would be our riskiest tile. So let's throw that. If we're playing to win, we want to get the risky tiles out. There's the third 1 crack. And we did get a keeper, the 5 crack. So the 1 crack just went down. So the first hand is off the table for us. And that will be a safe discard later. No, we're doing 2, 3, 4, 5. Second consecutive run needs a pung of 4s. We're playing 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 crack, 3 crack Kong, 4 crack pung, 5 crack Kong. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now that we need to Kong. And now we'll throw the 1 crack. This joker we'll be able to use with the 2 for a pung. And we're ready to Kong the 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, pung Kong, pung Kong. So we'll call. Everybody knows what hand we're playing at this point because all the 1 cracks are out. And now we're ready to win on a 5 crack. Oh, there's a couple jokers up for grabs. Okay, 8 crack. Well, we're playing to win. Oh, north. Okay. No. We got it. Mahjong. Woohoo! 2, 3, 4, 5. Go all the way into the end game. That was a good win, though. Thankfully, we were able to leverage jokers for that one. All right, let's play again. Hopefully, we'll get to squeeze in 2 more games. Okay, now here we have a widespread, no multiples. This is when you look for the predominant pattern. We're going to maximize. So if these were your tiles, what would you focus on? I know what I would do. Pardon me. Tell me in chat what you would do with these tiles. What would you say is the predominant pattern here? Anybody? I'm going to just tell you what I would do just for sake of time. 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive run. However, I would also keep the 3 and the 3 dot, 3 bam, 3 dot, because we have some potential for 3, 6, 9. So we're in between 3, 6, 9 or 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have tiles we can pass. Okay, so we picked up a 9 and a 6. We have like numbers with 2s, so we're going to have to make a choice. 6, 7, 8, 9 is probably what I would focus on. But we have like numbers with 2s and 3s. I would not pass 2s and 3s like numbers. I would let something in here go. So then I would look for the useless tiles. We have 2 9s. So probably I would let the 6 crack go. And that would allow us to pass 1 of each suit. Okay, now we have our first multiple, the 7 dot. So 6, 7, 8, 9 confirmed. Pass the north, the 2, and the 3. We've got 8s, 8, 6. We have 1 discard. We have 6, 7, 8 paired up. We have an 8 crack pair also, which is redundant. 6, 7, you go with the most of your multiples. So in this case, that would be 6, 7, 8 and dots. 6, 7, 8, 1 suit Kong, 5th hand down on the left. So I would probably continue and I would break up the 8 dot. I'd pass probably the 2 and 8 crack and a 9 bam. And the reason for that is because we're very close to this hand. 1 suit Kongs with a pair of flowers. I don't want to get stuck with a pair of 8s if we get everything we need in the rest of these passes. We didn't get keepers in this case, but we have tiles we can pass. I'd probably break up the 8, 9 here. So pass 3, 4, 9. We got a keeper, and we have 3 tiles we can pass. No keepers, and we have a dragon with a 6, 8. I would pass that. It's a little bit risky, but look at our hand. Pair, pung, pair, flower, no gaps, 5th hand down on the left. That is a hand of slight resistance, so this would be a loaded power play. We have, let's see here, we have 4 discards, so I'd say we're a contender, even though we have a hand with no gaps. we have one weakness with our flower, and that's a pair. So we need to draw or get ready. Speed to readiness is the key here. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Look at these flowers out there. We're good. We need a keeper. Okay, 7 crack pair. We don't need that. That might be able to get us a joker. Around 60 tiles remaining, we'll try to let one go. See if we can maybe get a joker out of that 7. We need to pick a 6 dot or an 8 dot so we can be set. A flower. Ooh, hey, this is a nice pick. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hand to least resistance. Second hand down on the left. That's a nice option if we can't get a flower. We don't need these tiles here. We're good there. Nope. Joker. All right. Thank you. So at this point, I probably would focus on 5, 6, 7, 8, pung kong, pung kong. Second hand down on the left because we have a weakness with the flower to play that 5th hand down. So if one of our tiles go down 5 through 8, we might call. We're at 77 tiles. We're going to let the 7 bam go hopefully around 60 tiles, unless we get a keeper. We're good. No, we don't need a 3 bam. We're good there. Nope, no keeper. Okay, we're at 67 tiles. Nope, we're good. Joker. Okay, now we're gonna let the 7 bam go. Let's see if we can get a joker. Nope, it was a miss. Okay, now here I would Kong. We could Kong, discard the 7 and still be in between the second hand down, 5, 6, 7, 8, pung Kong, second hand down on the left, or the 5th hand down, 6, 7, 8 Kongs with a pair of flowers. So we're going to call and Kong. We are risking losing the joker, but that's okay. We're focused on speed to readiness. We're at 50. Okay, now here we need to make a choice. And I would call that because our hand is set. We could pung the 5, Kong the 6 dot with the other joker, and then we have the pung of 7s already. So I would call and go for the second hand down on the left. And the reason is speed to readiness. If we can be ready to win before the end of the 3rd wall, that puts us in a front runner position really at this point. So let's call for a pung. We're ready to win at 55 tiles remaining. So that was a very quick build. Ready to win on a 6 dot or a 7. Oh, White Dragon, 2 are out. We're good there. We can let that go. There's 3 jokers up for grabs. 4 jokers up for grabs. North and West out. They're playing the first hand under Winds and Dragons. Okay, 7 bam. We can let that go. Uh-oh. Joker exchange for Mahjong. Mahjong. Ooh! Fully loaded power play. Pung Kong, Pung Kong. Second hand down on the left under consecutive run. Okay, we could play one more game probably. We have in here jokers. a flower, 4, 6, 8 in bams, pair 4, 1, 9 in cracks, 1.78 in dots with a pair of 1s. So we have a pair of 1s and a pair of 4s. So, oh, good, Beverly. Excellent. I'm so glad. I would keep the 1 and the 4, and I'd probably keep this 1 and probably the 6, 8. We're kind of in between like numbers with 1s and 2, 4, 6, 8. We're kind of in between both, but look at this pass. 7, 8, 9. That's very risky. I probably would not do that. I'd probably pass the 9 crack with a 7 and a 1 crack. I would give up on like numbers. Okay, now here we have a 4 dot, 8 dot, 8 crack, green dragon. Really 4, 6, 8 green, concealed hand. We have a gap, no 2. However, you could use jokers for the 2. That would be a gap hand if we played that. I would probably break up the 1, pass the 8 and the 4 dot. Addition, 4 dot, 4 dot, 4 bam, 8 crack. That would mean we'd have to, let's see here. If we were to do that, let's see, we have a flower, 4, 4, 4, 8. Let's see, 8 crack. Let's see, we could probably let the dragon go, I suppose. I would not pass a pair for sure. I guess we could let the 8 dot go and still maybe play the first 2, 4, 6, 8 hand. Let's see if we can do it, JL. Okay, now here we got a 6 dot, which is even, so I would keep it. And we have tiles we can pass, so we don't have to pick a hand yet. We did get a 4 bam. Here's a 7 bam, 4, 6, 7, 8. That doesn't really work. Here's 4, 5, 6 though. So we have 4 through 8. I would definitely continue. So if we're going to play addition 4, 4, 8, we have no gaps. So I would support that. So that would mean we would have to pass the 6 bam. So that's a bit risky. Let's see. We have 4, 4, 6, 8. Okay, well, let's see what happens. It's going to be risky no matter how you slice it. Okay, JL, maybe. Okay, now here's an 8 bam, though. We got a pair of 8 bams now. Here's a 4, 6. That's really not helpful, though, at all. Okay, let's see what we can get here. Oh, look, there's a 2 bam. We have north 1 that we can pass. We have 2, 4, 8. I'm kind of wondering if the 6 bam will come back, because we could maybe try that addition hand, but it's really weak. And we have a pair of 8s in here at the moment. I think what I would do is pass 1 blind. We did not get the 6, but we do have a 5. I think I would pass it though. I'd pass 2, hoping for the 6 bam. We didn't get it, but we do have a 4 crack. Let's just put it all in order. Look at all the 2, 4, 6, 8 we have. So let's just see what happens. We're going to gather. We don't have to pick a hand yet. So, okay, now here's a 2. We have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 8, 4, 8. That's really, let's see, the 4, let's see, 2 dot. Let's let the 2 dot go. We're going to need a pair of flowers if we play addition. Okay, now there's a 6 dot. We have a hand in here. 2, 4, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4 bam, 4th hand down, 4.6, 8 crack pair. We have weaknesses though. Let's let the 4 crack go. I'm thinking fourth hand down under evens. We don't need south. We need to get pairs in here. Two bam 4.8 crack. Oh, we were going to be an underdog on this game, by the way. We don't need north. So we need a low risk approach. We don't need north. That's our tile, but we need a pair. Oh, we got one of our pair tiles. I would definitely let the addition hand go. And I probably would focus on the 2, 4, 6, 8 hand, fourth one down. I would probably let the flower go. If we get a 6 bam, I would probably switch to the third hand down. Pung kong, hand of least resistance. If we draw a 6 bam now, somebody kept the 6 bam. And it could be any of these players here. We don't know. We're good. We don't need one crack. We still have weaknesses. We need the 4 dot and an 8 crack. If we secure one of those, I would switch to placing myself as a front runner and focus on speed to readiness. We're 69 tiles remaining, so we're still in the middle game. That's a pair for us. 5 bam, we already tossed. 3 dot, we already tossed. We're looking for 4.8 crack or a 6 bam long shot. Okay, now that, if we're playing 2, 4, 6, 8, pung kong, one suit, second hand down on the left, we would need to kong that. But that would be committing to a gap hand, and somebody kept that 6 bam that we gave up in the Charleston, so I would ignore this, and I would focus on the fourth hand down under evens. There is risk there, though, because we have 2 weaknesses. That's a pair for us. That is one of our weaknesses. We're good. We're good there. That's the second one. Okay, 5 dot. There's some consecutive in there, but I would not be distracted. I would toss it. Oh, shucks. No more jokers out. Okay, now that would be a Kong, and I would call. That was quick. Okay, we have weakness. We need 4.8 crack. Oh, that's one of our tiles. There's our second 8 crack. Only one more left. Oh, 6 bam. Joker. We don't need it. Yes, we do. Well, 1. We're still in a place of weakness. We need a 4 dot or an 8 crack very badly. They're playing 1, 2, 3, 4. They need the 4 bam, which we have. We need a 4 dot or an 8 crack. This is a discard. I'm nervous. 4 crack. Shoot. No. Oh my goodness. Oh, shoot. That's it. All right. So now we look for something else, but it's just too late. There are only 6 picks left. You take the remaining tiles and divide by 4. So we have our pair tile just went out. So we switch to defense now. We fold. We fold. Now our goal is to end in a draw. That is our other pair tile. That is the risk. Let's just exchange. Throw the 8. We have 1 exposure, so we're not at risk of disqualification. So we're just going to try to force a draw. Let's see. We have 3 more discards and we have 3 jokers. Oh no, 4 more. 4 more. How many 7 bams are out? 1. I think this player across from us is doing 6, 7, 8 mixed suit Kongs with flowers. So I'm thinking the 2 bam can be a discard. Oh, nobody wanted the West, so we're okay. Looks like other people, these robots also folded. All done. Well game. Draw. It was a draw. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's going to do it for this live stream. Whew. There were a lot of really good examples on that one. I know it goes pretty fast at I Love Mahj. I try to slow it down a little bit by pausing between discards. Sometimes it can feel like a little bit of sensory overload, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned a lot. And if you have any questions about my decisions, send me an email or put a comment under the video in the repost. I'd be happy to talk about the decision making. I think there was one cringe bomb in there. I think it was a risky pass. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back again in an hour for Nitty-Gritty Primetime Let's Play live stream. The topic for that session is going to be gathering intel. It is a little bit advanced, but if you're a beginner, you might enjoy it. It's going to be focused on situational awareness. And we're going to talk about social intelligence, but because we're playing online, there's only one tell that we can leverage. When you play in person, there's a lot of intel you can gather by watching your opponents. And that's what we're going to talk about in about an hour. Today's live streams are a double header. We do Nitty-Gritty Basics in the morning, 1 to 3, and then we do Nitty-Gritty Prime Time from 4 to 6. So if you're available, join us again in about an hour. Otherwise, I guess we'll see you again on Friday night for the Simply Social Let's Play live stream, or we'll see you again on Monday for the next double header. Thank you again for being here. All right. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll go ahead and sign off. All right. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Click the little gray bell if you do. That way you'll get notification for when I post new videos, and you won't miss an opportunity to learn a new strategy or pick up an insight to the game that could give you an advantage at the table. Between now and the next video, may all your picks be keepers.